everyone, it's Em and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Most of you probably know me from Dreadshop, where I have been a dreadlock model for 4 years now. And as you can see, I took my synthetic dress out right now because I'm getting real dreadlocks in a few weeks. But I just want to address the big do synthetic dreadlocks damage your natural hair? But I think that after more than 4 years, it would have been 5 in May. I can tell you exactly how it is in my experience. But I'm not only talking from my experience, but I also work at Dreadshop, so I see a lot of people with synthetic hair. I hear a lot of stories from everyone how their experience was with synthetic dreadlocks. But at first I want to give you some tips and tricks on how you can wear your synthetic dreadlocks safely, so that you can avoid damaging your natural hair as much as possible. So here are a few tips. First of all, I can't tell you this enough, but start with the dreadlocks. Like, they're the first step on treating your hair nicely. I know that dreadlock extensions can be expensive, but you have to know how much work it is to create your synthetic dreadlocks, and you pay for the hours that were put into creating your dreadlocks. So please don't buy any synthetic dreadlocks from AliExpress or any other cheap places, because these cheap dreadlock extensions are usually treated with a lot of chemicals, and you don't want to put those chemicals onto your scalp. It's really bad for your skin, for your hair. So I would not recommend buying dreadlocks from a cheaper place. Please go to a dreadlock shop. I work at Dreadshop, and in my experience they really have the best quality of dreadlocks that I've seen. And there are also a lot of other places that you can get your dreadlocks, but please just go to a professional instead of buying them online. So please save up for your dread set and don't buy anything cheap. You really don't want that on your scalp. So that's the first big tip that I can give you. Start with the dreadlocks, invest in some good ones, and this way you will save your hair and your scalp. And the next advice I want to give you is about the installing of the synthetic dreadlocks. You can of course go to a professional. Yet again, they know what they're doing. They will look at the amount of hair that you have, how thick or thin it is, what kind of weight your hair can handle. Like, if you have really thin, fine hair, you shouldn't be wearing really heavy dreadlocks, because your hair can simply deal with the weight of the dreadlock, so your hair will simply snap and fall out. So that's why it's really important that someone looks at your hair and tells you what you can handle with the amount of hair that you have and your texture that you have. And if you don't want to get them installed by a professional and you want to install them yourself or let a friend do your hair, you can also just go to a dreadlock stylist and ask them for advice. I know from Dreadshop you can always slide in their DMs or send them an email asking like, how many dreadlocks would you recommend for me? I have this kind of hair. Give them all the information you have about your hair. Is it thin, long? What kind of dreadlock goals do you have? And they can advise you best of how many dreadlocks you should wear. If you don't want to go to a hairstylist and you want to braid them in yourself, this is also of course possible. I've done it for 4 years. When I started with my first set, I was like, I'm really patient, I'm a quick learner, and I just want to learn to do it myself. So I searched up a lot of YouTube videos and I just started braiding them in myself. There are a lot of great videos out there on YouTube that you can watch, but Dreadshop also sells a mini course on how you can install your dreadlocks. So if you really need some advice on how to make the sections and how to braid them, Dreadshop has an amazing course, and you can get 10% off with my code MSM. So if you find the course just a little bit too expensive, you can always check it out there. So once you know who's gonna install your dreadlocks, it is really important that you make the sections big enough, but also not too big, like it's kind of in between. It also kind of depends on your hair type. If you have really fine hair, you might want to make the sections a little bit bigger, because your hair is not used to having that much weight on it. So your dreadlocks are gonna be really heavy for your scalp. And that's why you want a lot more hair to carry the dreadlocks. So that's why I would advise to make a bigger section. And if you read a bit more into synthetic dreadlocks, you might know that we have single-ended and double-ended dreadlocks. You might want to look at where your hair is a bit thinner. Like for some people it is in your neck with a lot of baby hairs. If that is really thin, or around your face is also usually a lot of baby hairs and thin hairs. In these sections you might want to use more single-ended dreadlocks, and double-ended dreadlocks will usually go on the back of your hair, which is usually a bit thicker and can handle a lot more weight than those little baby hairs. And that were a few tips from me. So get real dreadlocks, don't buy trash from AliExpress. Second, go to a professional and ask them for advice, or let them even install your dreadlocks. This way you're for sure that they are going to install them the right way. Or number 3, don't make your sections too small or install too heavy dreadlocks on certain parts of your hair. So if you have all those things in mind, nothing can go wrong, you would think. And right now I'm gonna tell you about my experience of having synthetic dreadlocks for 4 years. Well, as you can see, my hair is pretty alive. It didn't fall all out like most people on the streets were telling me. When I started with my synthetic dreadlocks, I had a undercut, and I also had really damaged hair. I bleached it all the time, I dyed it all the time. I straighten it almost every morning, or I wear it in a bun every single day. So my hair was like in a pretty bad condition. But since my hair is really thick from itself, the damage doesn't really show on my hair. But I decided to get dreadlocks when it was long enough. Started off with, I think it were 3 bundles. And with the old thick dreadlocks from Dreadshop, we advised 5 bundles in totals, 5 or 6, to cover your full head of dreadlocks. So 3 were just enough for my thick hair to cover it in dreadlocks. And then I started growing out my undercut, and when it was finally long enough, I really tried real hard to install some dreadlocks on there as well. So the moment I could braid them in like my really short hair, and I would just rub it around with an elastic so that they would stay in. And sometimes they even fell out because my hair was just too short. But the thick old dreadlocks were really light, so that's why I was able to still install them on my really short hair. I would not recommend doing this as well on really short hair. Like if you can't even make a normal braid, you know that it's too short to install dreadlocks. Especially with the locks of love from Dreadshop that we have now. They are way heavier than the thick dreadlocks that we had back then. But yeah, over time, 4 years, I kind of didn't touch my hair at all. It's also something we don't advise. We always say take some rest in between dread sets. I didn't do that because I wasn't feeling myself without my dreadlocks, so I always had them in. But again, I have really thick hair. My hair was feeling pretty normal, so I was just braiding them in and I felt absolutely fine. So that is a kind of a little recap on my hair journey. I've had 42 dread sets in total. Yes, it is a lot, but I also worked as a dreadlock model for 4 years, so that's why I always switched up my dreadlocks. Like almost every month I had a different dread set in. So that's also why I could change up my hair so much. So the conclusion, end of the story, did my synthetic dreadlocks damage my natural hair? Well, overall, I would say no. My hair is still on my head. It is looking pretty healthy. It's feeling great. So overall, no. But the real honest truth is that sometimes I was wearing my dreadlocks too tight and I didn't always listen to my own advice. I have a lot of thin hair around my face. I have a lot of baby hairs here, and around my ear I also have a lot of thin hairs. And I just wanted that full volume look, so I usually still braided in double-ended dreadlocks at the roots of my hair. And you probably shouldn't do that, because sometimes my hair broke off. Like these pieces were always really thin, and they're still growing back. But at one point I got my bangs because I was getting insecure about this, and I also have really blonde hair. So if you pull my hair back, what dreadlocks automatically do, because you make a little section, you will get this. And here I was blonde, so it almost looked like I was getting bald, or like this was going further away than it already is. So at one point I was like, I'm getting bangs because then I can cover this up. And I also think that because I got the bangs at that time, my hair got a little rest. Like the baby hairs here could grow back because I wasn't touching them anymore. So I think that's a really good thing that I just kept some rest on the little baby hairs in front of my face. I think that if I had installed synthetic dreadlocks in those baby hairs for 4 years, it will probably do a lot more damage than it now did, because I decided to skip my bangs. And I know this because there is a spot on my head that I was putting too much weight on, even though I knew I was doing it and I was damaging my hair at that spot. I still wanted a double-ended dreadlock there, and it is this spot right in front of my ear. And this one was really thick at once, but I don't know if you can see, but this is the string of hair that I was always installing a double-ended dreadlock on, because as you might know, I always with my dreadlocks were making bows from this section. So if I didn't have a double-ended dreadlock here, I couldn't do a lot of updos. So this is a piece of hair that is pretty damaged from installing dreadlocks. Like if you see these tips, it is just really kind of damaged. And I also have that on the other side as well. And here you can see it as well. I have the same spot at the other side because I always made 2 sections above my ears with double-ended dreadlocks, even though my hair is really thin there. And I was always pulling them in ponytails, and yeah, so there was a lot of weight on those little strings of hair, and I really damaged them. But honestly, if that's it, if little hairs above my ear are a bit damaged, I couldn't care less. I still could wear my dreadlocks the way I wanted them, and now when I have my hair loose, you can't even tell that these are damaged. So that's the real tea. That's the only bit of my hair that is a little bit damaged, and I was fully aware that I was doing this, but I just couldn't really care about it. And if I wanted to prevent this, I could just easily leave this section loose or install a single-ended dreadlock there. So if you have the same problem, if this area is getting a little thin, maybe just leave it out. It doesn't really matter if you have a few hairs above your ear. Or you could install a single-ended dreadlock here. So yeah, that's the real answer on the question. Did it damage my hair? A little. Just 2 strings of my hair that are a little bit damaged, and the rest of my hair is still really healthy. I honestly think that it is more healthy than when I wouldn't have my dreadlocks, because I know myself, if I have my hair loose, I want to bleach it, I want to dye it every single week, because I just like change. That's the way I work. And right now with my dreadlocks, I could just change up the color of my extensions and I didn't have to touch my hair at all. And that was today's video. I hope you guys liked it. If you have any more questions about synthetic dreadlocks or caring of your natural hair while having them, leave them in the comments and I will be happy to help you out. If you like this video, leave a like. You can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you all very soon. See you later. Bye bye.